They say there is a bit of a pirate in every submariner. It speaks of the level of adventure and challenge which draws men to platforms like the one we've just boarded. That's right. India today is on board the INS Sindhukirti, India's most advanced submarine, for an unprecedented compartment-to-compartment look, as well as a top-angle view of India's submarine program. Let's go ahead and take a look. Forward. 95 kilometers.
Stand by. Fire.
She is the Indian Navy's brand new underwater sword. Recently refurbished following a controversial and delayed upgradation, the Soviet-designed submarine INS Sindhukirti is back where she belongs, unleashing hell on unsuspecting targets, be it ships, submarines or facilities ashore. India today embarked the INS Sindhukirti as she was sailing out of the highly sensitive Visakhapatnam Naval Dockyard, home to India's submarine arm and the Eastern Naval Command, a formation which has historically been dwarfed by its counterpart on the western coast of the country. We're on board the INS Sindhukirti, Indian Navy's EKM class submarine here outside Visakhapatnam. As that plaque suggests to you, the crew believes it to be an indestructible, indomitable and invincible team. We are here on board preparing for our mission. We'll give you an idea of just where we are. If you can look at that monitor out there which tells you just where the submarine is. She is right now at periscope depths. That's where she is, half inside and half above. From here on we will dive inside. The INS Sindhukirti belongs to the 877 EKM class of submarines designed and built as a third generation platform following the underwater warfare of the Second World War. Divided into 6 vertical compartments, with the first 3 having as many floors and the last 3 having 2, the submarine typically fires from its forward portion and moves from its rear. At the very bottom is the battery pit, where from 240 batteries lend life to all of its functions, and in between is the space where the engines, bunk beds, storage and kitchen square off for every single inch of priceless real estate available on board. Not surprisingly, the EKMs rank among the most exported submarines of all times and have rightfully been termed as holes in the ocean by those tasked with the unenviable duty of keeping a tab on their moves.
4-meter boat going down.
Right sector clear, sir.
Boat going forward, sir.
All clear ahead. All clear.
The control room, the nerve center for all operations, has now settled down.
We've been retrofitted with missiles as well as the most modernized equipment which can be on any of the EKMs.
Okay.
And if you see, look around here, we have one of the state-of-the-art planing and steering system. It's called as a Purohit M, which is here. It's basically used for not just steering a submarine but also for diving and planing.
Okay.
Similarly, we have the state-of-the-art indication control and indication system called as Palladi, which is the one which is right on the extreme side. It's called as Palladi. Now, the difference from the other submarines is that most of the equipment which has been fitted today on board Sindhukirti is a digital version of whatever analog was there in the previous boats. Inherently, missiles will have a longer range as compared to the torpedoes which are there. Now, torpedoes have a better way of annihilating a target, but the ranges are considerably lesser. However, with a missile, you have a better reach. If you have a missile which is land attack capable, you can fire onto the targets on the cities which are there on the land. That the work has been undertaken on the pressure hull, on the various aspects of the boat, which has in effect increased the life of the platform. Erstwhile Foxtrots which were there, we have operated those boats in spite of their age of being some 35-37 years. We have actually carried out firing from there and maintained and sustained them for years long back before they got phased out. So I'll just say EKMs are still fledglings in comparison to whatever Foxtrots have done service to the submarine arm.
Hammer on bearing 030, Hammer reported by ESM sir matching with enemy aircraft.
So we'll have to interrupt over here. We have a alert that there is an enemy aircraft on top. We need to dive urgently.
Off the watch, carry out an
This is
urgent
among
dive.
the several functions that a submarine has to undertake forever on the alert. The biggest killer for a submarine is an aircraft or a helicopter. What you're seeing here is basically an act which is being done to ensure that you evade the enemy aircraft. They've sighted one and you're seeing the kind of impact it has on the crew. Urgent actions are being taken to ensure that from a depth of about 9 meters, the submarine plunges to about 50 meters so that she's safe, her crew is safe, and the mission carries on.
HE Alpha target set. Range of HE Alpha 100 cable, speed 16 knots.
Fishing vessel right ahead. Range 1 cable closing. Flood you, dive, roar forward.
Evasion, deception, and waiting for the right moment is the name of the game. As minutes pass, the INS Sindhukirti's ears have picked up what she needs removed from her way. We just saw an attack being executed to neutralize an enemy warship, and while we were here we counted at least 15 long minutes and multiple consultations, at least 4 to 5, before you could fire a single torpedo. It gives you a sense of the seriousness with which this exercise is undertaken. Part of it, of course, is because unlike a surface warship, while in a submarine, you are completely blind, and that's the reason why you need multiple layers of confirmation before even a single shot is fired, because if you are to miss, then of course, you failed in your mission. From the front, we now move to the rear section of the boat.
Presently we are in the last compartment of the submarine.
Okay.
We have 6 compartments and this is the last compartment. In this compartment there is one escape hatch where people can go out of the submarine whenever there is an emergency. And we have got 2 reserve motors which is actually used for lower speeds on surface. And we have one more most important control system in this compartment. Whenever we have a failure of our planes and steering gear from the control room, that is the main heart of the submarine, so we can do the planing and steering from this post.
Every function that Sindhukirti performs can be attributed to the energy churned out by these 240 batteries, manufacturing of which happens indigenously, a spectacular success story by itself. Here, electrical sailor Lokendra goes into this chamber, which isn't even 2 feet tall, twice a day to keep a check on their health. Upstairs, Lieutenant Commander Pradeep works to ensure that the tools to charge the batteries, 2 1500 kilowatt diesel generators required once in about 20 hours, are up and about. I was quite proud of the fact that I was a tall person till I came into the engine room of INS Sindhukirti, and as you're seeing all around me, this isn't a place if you are above 5 feet, that is, and this is where from essentially this submarine runs, operates. This is the engine room. On both sides you can see are the diesel engines which in a sense power the ship, and I'm given to understand that we are coming here at a rather comfortable time, notwithstanding the difficulty that we see all around us, because the silence out here, the comfort in terms of the air conditioner is what is being said is a blessing. Just what is uncomfortable out here like in terms of temperature, in terms of noise? What is it like?
When the diesels are running, as you see, the one which you are stepping on and where I am standing, both are the diesels. When they run, they actually run with a deafening noise. The temperatures that soar out, it starts from 35 and it goes till 50, 55 in worst case. And the number of our running hours that goes off is around 4 to 6 hours for getting the batteries completely charged from 0 to, or you say lower level to the topped up conditions. We have got a RO plant also, reverse osmosis plant, so as to sustain our days at sea with freshwater capabilities.
Getting water column bearing.
It is time to take a look at how the crew communicates with its shore-based command centers, for being updated can mean the difference between life and death.
Carry out concept receive, report all receive.
The key to understand this lies at the center of India's peninsular tip in Tamil Nadu's Tirunelveli, where the Navy operates its transmitting station, the INS Kattabomman. These giant structures enable uninterrupted communication with assets like Sindhukirti. This This submarine is capable of operating at depths up to about 300 meters. Ever wondered just how do they keep in touch? How do the shore-based commanders, for example, tell the submarine commanding officer that their mission has changed and that there is an update that they need to know about? Well, there is an answer which is available now, which actually ends the splendid isolation that submarine commanders would always suffer from. This is what I'm talking about. This is towed wire antenna. What it essentially does is that it's 600 meters long, which, as I said, is twice the length at which the submarine can operate. This simply needs to go out, and like a very small twig or a piece of plastic or waste, it remains on the surface, firmly connected to the body of the submarine. And by doing that, what happens essentially is that the submarine crew can immediately get the messages that their superiors, those in the command, have to pass on to them. Also, a flip side to it all is that if earlier submarine commanders wanted to get themselves updated, or they thought that there could be a message for them, they had to come to a depth of about 9 meters, which would leave them very, very vulnerable even if they didn't want to.
So flooding, flooding, flood to agency.
The danger of operating in a zone like this is not lost upon these men.
Control investigation party.
If anything, every single day they attempt to face and overcome their misery by engaging in drills like this one. Enemy action, negligence, malfunctioning of any sort leading to any eventuality is simulated, and so is the response.
This is known as drills and emergencies that we carry out every day, so that we are crewed up, we are worked up for facing any such kind of eventuality or problems.
Double drawing aft. Boat commence going down, sir.
Captain, lower for ends.
The story remains incomplete without a look at the men who steer the boat. Led by the commanding officer, the crew strength is 53, but an average of 70 personnel serve on board.
Permission to set watch on OAS, carry out echo sweep from red 45 to green 45, single pulse, full power, 4 km scale, report all echoes.
Carry out echo sweep red 45 to
The CO, as the boss is called, leads a team of officers in charge of different aspects of the boat, who in turn leads sailors trained not just to operate but also to repair these rather complex systems. So we're now returning from the engine room, and as you can see, moving around in a submarine is hardly easy. And this is what we have out here. I would say this is the ideal thing to do. Time for tea. Let's get inside the kitchen of this submarine to just see which is the part which keeps the men on board fed, motivated to work. Let's go inside and take a look. So आप हैं यहाँ के chief cook.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, इतनी सी छोटी जगह. You can see how big this area is, and this is where chief cook Bikesh Kumar and 2 assistants, that's all, 3 people in all, prepare the food for 70 plus people, or rather personnel who are on board the INS Sindhukirti. करते कैसे हैं? लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा कि 70 लोगों का खाना आप इतने छोटे से एरिया में कैसे बनाते हैं?
सर काफ़ी मुश्किल होती है, लेकिन मेन प्लेस यही है हमारा शिप्स के लिए. तो खाना क्या है कि हमारे पास इलेक्ट्रिक रेंज है, ये हम इधर से इलेक्ट्रिक रेंज है, वो मेन स्विच है, ये दोनों मेन स्विच है, ये सप्लाई है इलेक्ट्रिक रेंज का, हम इनको ऑन करते हैं, ये ऑन का सप्लाई है, और ये इनका फ्यूजेज है. अगर ज़्यादा लोड के ऊपर जाता है तो फ्यूज़ डाउन हो जाता है. तो मेन इलेक्ट्रिक सप्लाई है, इन्हीं के ऊपर हम 70% 70 प्लस का खाना इन्हीं रेंज के ऊपर, जो 4 रेंज है ये ऑन है, इसी ऑन के अंदर और इन्हीं रेंज के ऊपर हम 70 प्लस का खाना मेंटेन करते हैं.
Having departed for their mission, which may entail sailing for as many as 45 days at a stretch, rules prohibit these men from either shaving or bathing. Reasons range from paucity of space to carrying and subsequent disposing of wastewater. This place may appear to you like a very, very congested third AC compartment that you see in a train, but it isn't. Obviously, we are on board the INS Sindhukirti. We are sailing somewhere in the middle of Bay of Bengal. This place, in fact, is the sailors' accommodation area. And what I want to tell you, what is an extremely interesting concept, it's called as hot bunking. So what it essentially means is that if there are 9 personnel who are serving on board, not all 9 will have beds allotted to them. there will only be 6 beds, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What will happen essentially is that 3 of them will always be on duty and the rest will come and rest. So essentially you do not have a bed allotted to each and every person on board, obviously given the paucity of space, but everyone can sleep, and hot bunking ensures that that is done flawlessly. These men, who are expected to sail into and remain in harm's way, learn to share among the strongest of bonds. And in doing so, they operate without a hierarchy, something which happens in no other branch of the vast military setup. Guess what is the first thing that any volunteering officer or sailor needs to clear before he or she can be commissioned into the submarine arm? It is a test in which the passing percent is 85 and above, and the test is about knowing every single thing, every single compartment of a structure as complex as a submarine. That's the intensity that you need to have to make it into the ranks as a dolphiner. In this segment, we take a look at just what makes the men behind these machines. The most vital part in a submariner's training is to prepare your action if the worst actually comes upon to you. That's the time when your submarine is completely dysfunctional and you have to get yourself out of it. I am wearing the ISP 60. It's a standard rescue equipment on board most of the Indian Navy submarines. It weighs about 17.5 kilograms, and I'm now going to do what most of the submariners do towards their training, which is to actually experience and get yourself out from those waters.
Take a long breath. Hold your tongue.
This suit is weighing about 17.5 kilograms, but while I am in water, it is weighing much more. In fact, it tells you about the intensity of a submariner or dolphiner's training. I may also add that while history tells us that there are very few instances of successful submarine rescue, nevertheless, the effort has to be made. Nevertheless, the effort has to be put in. And if I may add, a remarkable part of the training of a dolphiner out here, and it also tells you how treacherous it is that for every single training, there is a trainer like the one who is holding this for me. It's that intense, it's that difficult.
Helmet off. Okay, sir. Take a long breath.
So I did it, but this was just about 1.5 meters. The professional dolphiners, they have to actually undergo this out there at a depth of about 5 meters plus. As I was saying earlier, there aren't too many instances available in history for a successful submarine rescue. Obviously, it tells you just how difficult and how slim the chances are, but nevertheless, the preparation has to be done, and that's what those men out there are doing. Offering 5 major courses and several minor ones, the biggest, however, is the basic course, which forms an inescapable part of a dolphiner's training regimen. What is in the Navy's hands is to train personnel for escape from a dysfunctional submarine. A task considered so treacherous that seldom has it been attempted, not to speak of with what success.
What you have done just now, it's just a trailer of the training.
Okay.
Actually, you can see the bright sunlight is there. There's a swimming pool, absolutely clean water.
Yeah.
The people are there to look after you.
Right.
But it's not the case. Imagine the situation where the submarine is disabled. maybe fire or flooding. People are running here and there. You can see your buddies, colleagues lying with the blood or some injuries. People are shouting. They're absolutely dark. Imagine that situation where the submariner has have to escape. They have to very calm, quiet. They have to do the correct drills, don the suit sets, and body breathing. They have to pressurize themselves. It's a really massive and Herculean task, and at the same time you have to be mentally very fit. We train the submariners to fight the actual situation if that comes.
Then there is the price to pay even in health terms when one signs up for it.
सबमरीन में आने का सपना अलग अलग ही तरीके का एक सपना होता है, क्योंकि हम पानी के ऊपर रहने वाली वस्तु नहीं है. हमें पानी के अंदर जाना है, पानी के अंदर घंटों दिन महीनों रहना है.
For all the punch that she packs, the INS Sindhukirti, like many other Indian submarines, is old and perhaps in need of replacement. In this particular segment, we examine just where the Indian Navy's submarine arm is vis-a-vis where it should have been and the reasons behind the same. While the man behind the machine matters, in the case of India's underwater arm, the machine has deteriorated and there are many, including the Navy, to blame. And it has come at a time when the Indian Ocean region, home to 2/3 of the world's transported oil, half of transported containers and 33% of bulk cargo, is hotting up. China, for instance, sports a fleet of 62 submarines, a few of which have shown up recently in the Indian Ocean region. While India's average submarine age is over 25 years, the Chinese fleet is said to be much younger and thereby healthier. China's all-weather ally Pakistan isn't doing too bad either. Apart from having a relatively modern submarine fleet, it is also moving fast towards acquiring more. For one of India's senior-most submariners, the scenario can hardly be termed as pleasing.
The morning they were sailing. We started a submarine building program, indigenous submarine construction program, in the 1983-84 with the induction of the HTW submarines from Germany. As everybody knows, we built 2 submarines in MDL, and after that the line was stopped because of a scandal. In the meanwhile, we acquired submarines from Soviet Union, the erstwhile Soviet Union. The question is, why would a country which starts making submarine acquire submarines from elsewhere? We should have continued the line. Therefore, in terms of creating the capability to design and build submarines in India, we lost out by this process. Project 75, which is the Scorpion, is already delayed by almost 7 years. Project 75 India has not started, and therefore our backlog of the number of submarines which we need to build have also increased. According to the 30-year submarine construction program, we needed to build 24 submarines. We have only not even built the first 6. Therefore, there is a lag of 18 submarines which need to be built. Where will we build it? When will we build it? That is the question.
So as we saw, the Indian Navy has a lot going for itself. There have also been a lot of wrongdoings, a lot of time lost on that account, and a lot of rectification which will actually have to be done to stay afloat. Nevertheless, for the Dolphin'S, the men in white, we say, ride deep, ride silent, as you have always been. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
You are watching India Today.